Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup though. Got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup though. cup though.
Well, good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be back. George Morgan here at your service. It's PSGL, it's Wednesday night, it's Spain tonight as well. Lots on the table, lots of battling. The title contest is still alive and kicking. And Jack, it's only taken us 10 rounds. We're on the 11th. It's all to play for.
Boromant goes on the inside and takes the lead on the final lap of the race. Now it's side by side between Boromant and Warner, but Boromant's got the inside.
A guest star here in this phenomenal race. Cameron Dowd looking to take P2 in his very first PSGL F1 PC race. Incredible to say the least. You see that Putin to lead. 1.5 seconds. DRS is the name.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to PSGL. We are here for PSGL F2 once again. It's round number 5, and you're joining us from the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, Canada. What a race we had last week in Monaco. No, not in Monaco. We did have a good race in Monaco, but it wasn't last week. It was Austria last week. We had a great race in Austria. Thomas Covers taking his first PSGL F2 win. We had a first-time pole sitter. We had a first-time winner, but we don't have a first-time co-commentator alongside me. It is Mr. Byron Hale returning. Byron, how have you been keeping? How's the last week gone?
It's not been too bad, actually. I feel like I'm almost built into the woodwork here in F2 already. And I mean, last time out, what a race that was. Thomas Covers waiting for that first win for so long. And at long last, it happened. He got that win. Finally, an F2 winner. And it's a good thing for him. But plenty of talking points as we go into this round. In fact, the standings looking, well, pretty much ever beautiful and ever looking good. And Fede obviously leading that way, 7 points ahead of his teammate Ferrari on top form as things stand. But do not count out Dragon Smith there in third. But this entire grid order is looking very close. Disappointing start for some, though. You look at your teams like your Alpine, your McLaren, your Mercedes. They've not had the best of starts, but Ferrari still out in front. Top form for them, looking great heading into Montreal.
Yes, looking fantastic. You can see the standings on your screen now. I'll just run you through them quickly. It is Fede, Danielle, Dara, Dirk, Facilo, Phil, Jamie, Thomas Covers, Hazara, Francesco Lago, your top 10. And it is Johan, Diogo, Tales, Rayan, Devon, Jaquita, Emma Slash, Will Murdoch, and then the two McLarens. The horrid start for McLaren continues here in PSGL F2. But in terms of your circuit for this evening, ladies and gentlemen, it is, of course, the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, host of the Canadian Grand Prix. The first Canadian Grand Prix was held in 1961. That was in Mossport Park, but the race has moved to here pretty much ever since. A fabulous circuit on the man-made island that is here, the Notre Dame Island. It used to be called the Notre Dame Circuit here in Montreal, but it was renamed after Canada's famous Gilles Villeneuve. It's a 5.361 kilometre circuit, a 2.710 miles, 14 corners. You've got 6 to the left and 8 to the right. The lap record here is actually held by Valtteri Bottas, was set in 2019. It is about 76%, I should say, at full throttle. about 52 gear changes per lap average. Those are the numbers. These guys will be looking to set the smallest number possible here today in qualifying. We jump over live to Gilles Villeneuve now, or no, we don't. Seemingly, we don't jump over live to Gilles Villeneuve. That's gone very wrong. Hold on, Byron. I'll put up the standings. And a quick question for you: wet race or dry race? What do you think would be the more interesting here?
I mean, it's got to be a wet race. We've seen some amazing wet weather action at the circuit like this. In fact, if you go all the way back to, Jenson Button when he won this race, with 6 pit stops, that's certainly not going to be the ideal strategy around here. But, who knows? It's not out of the question that someone could have a strategy like that. Because safety cars, very likely as well. You've got to think about those, the Wall of Champions. That wall, it's so close. It really does, lend itself to a crash or two. But nonetheless, I think a better race would definitely be a wet to dry or a dry to wet. Provide some strategic variety, but nonetheless, the action here is going to be great as those first laps get underway.
Perfectly led in, Byron. Sorry, folks, got the capture card fixed. That I thought was going to be a very bad moment in PSGL F2 history where we weren't going to have a stream, but it works now. TF10 Dirk, first man on a hot lap heading round this Montreal circuit. He's currently heading in towards turn number 6 and 7. Not a lot of corner names around here, so unlike Austria, you won't hear me blabbering on in some foreign language for the entirety of the stream. Runs close to the Alpine. Dirk needs to be careful here. He's had a couple of run-ins with other drivers in qualifying this season. He'd like to just keep a clean slate ahead of this one. He's got a few too many points on his licence, picked up a qualifying suspension for the Austrian Grand Prix, and then, of course, did not pick up any points in the race. So that's pretty much not what he wants to do here this evening. He wants to get back into the championship charge, and he's going to do that by trying to be the pace setter in qualifying. We're expected to see these guys hit about a 0.7 or a 0.8, or at least that's what they all told me about 10 minutes ago in the Discord chat for the final chicane, though very nice for TF10 Dirk. He'll be the first man up, and across the line will be a 109 flat for Dirk. Not the quickest time you might see here today, but a good banker lap. He's on the board.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what you want to do on these early laps. Get yourself a lap time on the board and then go from there. Put up that pace just a little bit more as you feel a bit more comfortable, but not looking too bad. 17 drivers in this, so not looking too bad at all. And well, you got to think there's a lot of these drivers who probably are going to be looking to get a little bit more out of this, but Phil in second, not looking too bad at this stage. And well, that lap time from Jet not looking too bad, but obviously
you can see
a lot of time to go in this session, as you can expect, and nonetheless, plenty of action yet to unfold.
Yep, Phil has gone to second, to Haas's third and fourth. Francesco Lago down to 5th position. Thomas Covers has invalidated his first lap. Here comes Diogo Silva up towards the start-finish line. It'll be 4th for Diogo. Decent lap there. We are still awaiting both of the Ferraris. Nope, now only one Ferrari, Fede, who's invalidated his lap in the first sector. Danielle goes to 8th position. This is CPI Devon heading down towards the final chicane. Devon, of course, the last time we visited here in season 32, it was round 4 of that championship. He took home a points finish in 8th position, as did Fede, your current championship leader. He managed to go 2 better, take home 6th, but it was Namsco who won that race back here in season 32. Ryan in 3rd position for Haas, of course. Last week he took his first ever PSGL pole position. He took it with a 103.096 in Austria, a stunning lap, and he was able to start at the front of the grid. Wasn't to be for the win for Rayan. He, of course, came home in 7th position in the end. Thomas Covers taking the infamous race win at the Austrian Grand Prix. ML Slash is on a lap. Johan is on a lap, but it seems like a lot of early mistakes here around Canada.
Yeah, that's kind of what you expect, unfortunately, from this sort of track. It doesn't lend itself to mistakes in the slightest. You extend those track limits just a bit too much, and all of a sudden, that lap time that was going to put your P2, or even better, you've lost it, and all of a sudden, it's all come crashing down for you. But nonetheless, this is exactly what these drivers are here to do. They're here to do the business, and well, they're going to certainly be trying to do that here tonight, but just keeping an eye on the gaps between these drivers, not looking too bad as things stand. You know, all 17 drivers, you know, have gone out onto the track at some point, so we know there's not many niggling issues for anyone, but, well, those who have tried to get a lap time on and haven't got a lap time on the board through that invalidation, they're under a little bit more pressure now because, unfortunately for them, they've not quite got as much time and as much of a luxury to get around and get multiple laps in.
Yep, only 11 times on the board so far here for Canadian Grand Prix qualifying, 11 minutes and 40 to go. If you're just joining us, welcome along to PSGL F2. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the Canadian Grand Prix, round number 5 of the championship here this evening, live from the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, a fabulous racing facility located in one of Canada's main cities. Dirk is already back out and ready to rumble. He wants another quick time put on the board. Was the first man to set a lap, and that was the quickest lap, but you'd like to think that that'll be beaten by a numerous amount of drivers for the duration of qualifying as the track will evolve. IRT Phil, of course, was very good around Albert Park in Australia. That's kind of a similar track to what we have here this evening in Canada. He'll be looking to produce something similar, something decent, as the Red Bullman just gets ready to heat up his tyres for another lap. But here comes Dirk for the final chicane. We'll keep an eye on what the Dutchman can do for the final couple of corners and on to one of the shorter start-finish straights.
Yeah, it's quite a short straight as you head into turn number 1, but this sort of track, you can get an overtake into that corner, but that long casino straight there, it doesn't help you if you're trying to make an overtake, because chances are, if someone was in DRS and within about 6-7 tenths of a second, and you don't have DRS, that's it, you've been overtaken, and you haven't got much defense through the Wall of Champions and into the beginning of that next lap, which is exactly why overtaking re-overtaking is a bit more difficult, especially if they have a slight pace advantage over you. But looking at Thomas Covers, supposedly, according to the game, he's had the fastest middle sector as things stand, so not looking like a too bad lap time for Thomas Covers as he goes down the main straight, down that casino straight here and down into this final chicane. There's the Wall of Champions there, turn number 14, very nicely done from Thomas Covers. Hold it to the right for the shortest way to the line, and it's only third for Thomas Covers, but not a bad lap time as things stand. But the likes of Dirk and Phil are going to be hunting, but unfortunately for Dirk, invalidated on that particular occasion as Phil now begins his lap.
Yeah, Phil begins his lap. Tales crosses the start-finish line, goes quicker than his teammate Rayan, who has invalidated his lap at the first time of asking as well. Francesco Lago is currently on another hot lap. He is just heading around through the Le Pingle hairpin at the bottom of the circuit, heading on to the the longest straight here at this Montreal circuit. If you're wondering the exact measurements from pole position to turn 1 is only 139 metres as Francesco clatters that outside wall. He's not going to be the first, he's not going to be the last to do it here today. Will still improve to 7th position. What can his teammate Phil do? Heading down towards the final couple of corners, turn 13, 14, he's into the pit lane. He won't be continuing that lap. Michel has gone to 6th position, Will Murdoch goes to 8th position, and the rest all still on outlaps. We are still yet to see times from Jamie, Fede, ML Slash and Johan, but I think this Ferrari is a man to keep an eye on. Fede, been so quick so far this season. He definitely could be a contender this evening. Absolutely could be, and well, now he's probably beginning his first real lap of anger. Obviously invalidated his last attempt. He was a 109.216 for Fede there that was invalidated, so he's not looking too bad. That would have put him around about where Tales is there, so about 4th roughly there, give or take, so wouldn't have been too bad at all. But Fede now not looking too shabby, but he's 2 tenths, or about 1.5 tenths down, sorry, in that first sector. But the second sector as well, had a tenth down there on Phil, so this isn't looking like maybe it's the strongest of tracks for Fede, or maybe just this is a banker lap time, trying to get something on the board, because he really needs to, as things stand. Not got a lap time up to this point. This final chicane hits his final real hurdle, his final obstacle on this lap, but taken very nicely there by Fede, and nonetheless up to the line, shortest distance there, holding it to the right hand side. It's going to be third for Fede, so a brilliant final sector there for Fede. In fact,
convincingly faster than anyone else so far in this session. A brilliant lap time there from the Ferrari man. Now, can his teammate Daniel there down in 12th do something similar? Because, well, he needs a good lap time on the board too.
Yeah, he does. Danielle second in the championship, of course, took pole for the first round of the season in Albert Park and then narrowly missed out as we headed to the second round in Spa-Francorchamps. Here comes Gilles Johan heading through the final corner now in the Mercedes. A little bit slow for the first part of the chicane, but quite good through the second. Hangs it close to that right-hand side, and across the line will be 13th for Johan on this time of asking. Here comes CPI Devon. He has 4.5 tenths of a second in hand heading into this final sector, and you'd be inclined to agree that he will improve. There's a 5-place grid penalty for Thomas Covers. That confirms the restart. That is a 5 place, I should say, for illegal blocking. If you're getting 5-second penalties in qualifying, that would be bizarre. However, would not surprise me. With Codemasters,
I'm just about to say, Jamie is about to be on a mega lap time, fastest middle sector. I'm sorry to kind of jump in on you, but Jamie was looking brilliant. He's only gone 6th, but the fastest middle sector of all time so far. So interesting there from Jamie. Really had a strong middle sector there in the kind of the more heart of the lap, I suppose, where you go through turn 6, 7, and then 8 and 9. But not quite able to deliver through that third sector. Looked like it was going to be a mega lap time though, and well, only 2 tenths off, so not too bad for Jamie either.
Now, it's similar to Austria this. We've got a really close grid. Top 10 separated by under 3.5 tenths of a second. That's obscene here in modern day Formula 1. As we see CPI Devon, is he currently on a push lap? Doesn't look like so. No, he isn't currently on a push lap. Hazara is, however. And the Norwegian is just over a tenth of a second up in that first sector. A little bit of a wobble heading out of turn number 7. But he's on his merry way to try and jump up the order. If he could find 2 tenths of a second, he'd be well within the top 10. It's such close proximity. If you're wondering how our pole man currently is getting on, Dirk invalidated his next run. Big middle sector for Hazara. He's 3 tenths of a second up.
Yeah, Tales is another one who might be about to have a jump up over a tenth faster in the first sector versus your current pole man. He only needs 2 tenths of a second, but Tales is not looking too bad. This final sector, though, is crucial to get that lap time over the board and up to P1. And actually, very disappointing last sector. In fact, 3 tenths down on what we've seen up to that point. So really interesting. The final sector not delivering the results and fruits of his labour Tales, but in a massive first and second sector. The pace is undoubtedly there, but maybe some drivers just needing a bit of a slipstream, a bit of that helping hand to try and get it an improvement over for them. But well, currently not looking too bad for anyone as Dirk comes across the line, sets the benchmark higher. It's now 2.5 tenths between him and Michel there in second. Not looking at all in doubt of a question from Dirk on provisional pole position here with 4 minutes left to go.
Yes, Dirk goes quickest. Thomas Covers now goes to second for AlphaTauri. Hazara was on a lap that was good enough for second at the time. Invalidated it for the final corner. You saw on the broadcast as well, Diogo Silva clattering the Quebec wall, otherwise known as the Wall of Champions. Francesco looked as if he was improving there, but that was a bit of a strange weave. Tales comes into the pit lane as well. Looks like the top 2 might have set their laps early, and they're going to leave it down to everybody else to try and fight for the rest here in qualifying for the Canadian Grand Prix. Will Murdoch is going to be coming into the pit lane on this lap. Oh no, he's not. He's still on a lap here, but he's going to be starting a second one, I believe. Unless, actually, no, this is actually still quick from Will Murdoch. Only a tenth of a second down, so I miscalculated that one. That was quite quick for the final corner for Will, but he is down on his time. Wasn't able to improve. He'll stay 11th.
Yeah, disappointing lap time there from Will Murdoch, only in 11th. Improving, though, invalidated his in-lap, but that doesn't matter, unfortunately. He's probably just going to be trying to blitz it around, get into the pit lane, change the tyres, and see if he can get back out to set a final run before the end of this qualifying session. As things stand, though, Dirk, you can't question the pace of that Aston Martin. We thought his original lap time wouldn't stand and stay there very long, but it did. And then he just went and set the benchmark even higher. That is quite the start to this race weekend for Dirk here. But now it's down to everyone else to try and respond as we get drivers out of the pit lane. In fact, Rayan I believe there is on a hot lap now. No, it's not. It's in lap.
He made a mess of it, unfortunately, in the middle sector. Big slide, I will call it, but he's backed off and he will go again. He'll still be the first man to go again, I believe, as we have a flurry of cars coming out of the pit lane. Damiano as well, down in 16, and still no proper lap yet from ML Slash. So we expect those guys to be jumping up near the top, but it's really seems like a two-horse race up the front. But we didn't have a lot of improvements in the middle lap in the session. Certainly there's still a lot of time to find, so I would expect a bit of swapping and changing here in the final runs in Montreal.
Yeah, absolutely likely to see quite a bit of movement across the grid as we move into these final couple of minutes in this qualifying session. And well, you got to think about, it might be the top two who are looking on top form, but nonetheless, it's down to these other drivers to respond. Rayan hasn't been able to get this lap time in the, under green flag conditions, has invalidated already. So unfortunately for them, they've got a final attempt, though, because they have gone that early on in the session. But no one really at the moment getting a valid, a good start to their lap. But I believe our first actual flying proper lap in anger is going to come from Jamie here in the Alfa Romeo Sauber, all the way down in 7th place, 4 tenths off the pace of Dirk, who's currently out in front. But there's a lot of things to look at and a lot of sector times to be set in the next, minute or so. And, it's going to be a case of who's going to get the best track conditions and who is going to get that all-important pole position.
I think Ryan's just parked it in the wall of champions. That's not ideal, really, for him. The final laps of the session are underway, though. We're looking at Jamie heading up towards turn number 8 and 9. Just flicks it through there nicely. A decent lap this from Jamie. He is improving, very marginally, but marginally is all you really need here this evening around Canada. Into the slipstream of one of the Mercedes. Doesn't opt for it, so he's going to stick under his own accord here. Doesn't want to get impeded by anybody. There is only 13 seconds left. There's only 13 seconds left here. Dirk may not make the line. He's got 6, 5, 4, 3. Oh, this is going to be close. 2, 1. Oh, he's just about made it as Jamie goes to second. What a final sector here for Jamie. That was very impressive. Thomas Covers has invalidated his lap, so he will not be able to take pole position. The two Alpha Tauris both invalidated their first attempts, but luckily for Michel, they've been able to get another one underway. Dirk under a huge amount of pressure as well, but he is still improving. He's gone purple in that first sector. Keep an eye on Tales as well. Nope, don't. That's invalid. Keep an eye on Francesco Lago and maybe Diogo Silva. ML Slash won't get a proper time on the board. So it seems like this is going to be a shootout between Michel and between TF10 Dirk, because those are the only two currently delivering on their hot laps. It'll be the Alpha Tauri who'll be able to throw the first punch, heading through the final chicane now. Braking, need to optimize the braking. Flick into the right, no, invalid. The punch has missed, it's been defended, and Dirk will be taking pole position really here, regardless of what this lap says, because, he can finish it if he wants, but this is purely just for his own satisfaction. He's on pole for the Canadian Grand Prix. Can he go quicker nonetheless? He absolutely
does, just
can.
Marginally. Only just, but a 10th ahead of Jamie there in second. I mean, difficult circumstances for the entire field. So many drivers invalidated there. Thomas Covers, Michel there, Phil, Ryan, Danielle, Francesco, as well as Will Murdoch and M Slash there, all invalidating their final runs. But your qualifying analysis will continue in a couple of moments' time. But just to run you through your top 10 as we go into this race, we will have a lobby restart, but Dirk leads ahead of Jamie, Thomas Covers, Michel XB, Phil, Fede, Pales, Hazara, Rayan, and Danielle there down in 10th. And unfortunately missing out on a top 10 spot is Francesco Largo there. But what a grid we have ahead of this one. Dirk leads the field by a tenth of a second going into the race here at Montreal.
Well, good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be back. George Morgan here at your service. It's PSGL, it's Wednesday night, it's Spain tonight as well. Lots on the table, lots of battling. The title contest is still alive and kicking. And Jack, it's only taken us 10 rounds. We're on the 11th. It's all to play for.
Boromant goes on the inside and takes the lead on the final lap of the race. Now it's side by side between Boromant and Warner, but Boromant's got the inside.
Literally a guest star here in this phenomenal race. Cameron Dowd looking to take P2 in his very first PSGL F1 PC race. Incredible to say the least. You see that Putin lead. 1.5 seconds. DRS is the name.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to PSGL. It's one of those infamous restarts again, so we have a quick moment to chat to you about qualifying and about what took place. We will pop up the standings on screen quickly. Once again, to remind you ahead of this evening's action, you all went for Thomas Covers in the pole. That sounds weird to say, but it is a pole. Byron, are you surprised that Dirk was so dominant in qualifying?
I mean, you can never count anyone out, especially Dirk. He's one of those sort of drivers. He, sometimes just gets the rub of the green, and all of a sudden, you're like, where did that come from Dirk? And he's not looking too bad in the championship in 4th place. So, you've got a lot of things to kind of look at and think about for Dirk. He's not looking too shabby in this championship. Fede might be out in front, but he's only 14 points ahead of Dirk, who's had a great start to his season. But, I mean, Ferrari, they're still out in front. So maybe, it was weird of us to assume that other drivers would be better than one of the Ferraris. But, Dirk really put a bit of a stamp on that one and went, yeah, I'll have a stab at that. And it showed the grid why they maybe should be a little bit worried. But, I mean, Montreal, what a track this one is. Not much elevation change, but some long straights, a few DRS opportunities too, nonetheless. So, going to be a great race tonight.
Yes, it is going to be a great race. Last time we were here, we had a great race as well in season 32. Round number 4 was Namsco. He took the win ahead of Keane and Volakonkan. What a season that was. Although we're having an equally good season here in the F2 Championship. It was Joel96 who took the first ever PSGL F1 recorded, or PSGL F2 I should say, recorded win on the F1 2012 game for Caterham. Did not think Caterham had ever won in anything Formula 1 related, let alone a PSGL race. But once again, a reminder of your standings heading into this evening's action. And really, Byron, you'd be a fool to count out the Ferrari still in this race, considering how good they've been across the course of this season.
Yeah, they've been on good form, but unfortunately, as things stand for them, they aren't where they might want to be, 6th and 10th on the grid with Fede ahead there of Danielle there. But, it's an opportunity for those maybe around them to try and score a few more points, but you can never count those Ferraris out. You're absolutely right. They just seem to be there when you don't want them to be, and unfortunately, it's not great. But, that's what you expect. You expect these guys to be on fine form, and they certainly should be trying to get a good result tonight. But nonetheless, they're going to be trying their absolute damnedest for it. But nonetheless, just a lot of things for the Ferraris to think about. But Dirk, can't count him out either.
If you're wondering about the weather conditions, we obviously we had a race start, but the lobby still runs because people practice race starts and stuff. Bit of tactics. It started raining in Sector 3 on the first lap, and everyone was on dries. That would have been so entertaining. I hope we get something similar because that would have been very entertaining. But it started raining on the first lap. So I think we're going to have a dry to wet to dry race here at Canada, which will be extremely entertaining. It was very similar to the longest race in Formula 1, of course, which was won by Jenson Button. 4 hours, 4 minutes and 39 seconds to be exact, was a 2011 Canadian Grand Prix, which was quite a long time ago now. It seems like it was so recent, but it was quite a long time ago. A couple of the drivers very much hoping for the rain. Hazara says, can we make that exact scenario happen where it rains on the first lap? Francesco doesn't seem too positive about the rain. He seems a little bit nervous maybe at the approach of wet weather. And speaking of wet weather, Byron, we haven't had it this season. I think it's going to be a real surprise to see who is quick in these wet conditions and who isn't.
Yeah, I mean, rain, it's the first time we've had it on a circuit. We've certainly wanted and maybe done a little bit of a rain dance for it, but nonetheless, I'm really excited to see what this race entails, what what do we expect from this one? You've got to really think, that there's a lot of drivers who might excel in these wetter conditions, and who's got a setup that's a bit more wet weather oriented, that weather can change at any moment around this sort of track. So could we see something similar to that, where all of a sudden the rain hits and someone drops off a cliff because their setup just isn't going to work in those conditions? So I'm really excited to see what happens with the rain actually going to hit the rain circuit tonight.
CPI Omar saying that Jamie will win. Nice prediction there. Let us know your predictions in the stream chat. We love to hear them. And remember, if you want more PSGL action, you can firstly follow all these. Sorry, they're there. All the social channels, which are they're under Byron. I'm pointing the wrong way, but
yes, down there.
Yeah. I was about to say he's got it, and I'm pointing at myself. He's got it. I've literally been here 6 seasons. YouTube, Instagram, and then we're on Twitch as well. You can join our Discord server and check us out on TikTok. A few new TikTok edits being posted over there. Make sure you check out our title sponsors, GT and Mega, and I almost said the wrong sponsor, and Sim Racing Centre. Our fabulous sponsors there. I almost said the wrong sponsor. That would have been horrific. And remember, you can check out more PSGL action coming up at 8 p.m. with PSGL F1 with Jessica Ball and James Head. Hopefully, we get racing pretty soon. Byron, I usually ask you for a prediction of the race start, but we have a few minutes now, so hit me with it. Who's your prediction?
Ooh, let me load up the qualifying order just so I can double check that I'm not going to put my money on someone who's all the way down in 15th, for example. But
well, I mean,
I could, but do I want to is the question. I think it's got to be Dirk. I'm going to go with Dirk. The pace in qualifying to be a 10th ahead of the field, convincingly out in front. You're starting on pole, got the best conditions. You can play it a little bit easier, especially with those wetter conditions. But I'm not going to, take a bit of a, gamble on that one. I think it's going to be Dirk taking the win here tonight when we get underway around the Montreal circuit.
So Dirk for the win, says Byron. He's been all right, this fella, at his predictions so far this season. I reckon he's a good tip. Let us know down below who you think is going to win this evening, ladies and gents. We would love to hear from that. But we'll give you one more look at the Montreal track here this evening. 6 drivers have scored maiden F1 victories here in Montreal. Gilles Villeneuve, Thierry Boutsen, Jean Alesi, Lewis Hamilton, Robert Kubica, and of course Daniel Ricciardo in 2014. So it is a track that likes to give a first-time winner. The circuit, of course, was originally called the Notre Dame circuit. There's only been one Canadian winner here in the past. That is Gilles Villeneuve, of course, Lance Stroll. Well, he hasn't won an F1 race yet, so he couldn't have won here. But he did score points at home on the 50th anniversary of the Canadian Grand Prix, and Michael Schumacher and Lewis Hamilton are tied with 7 wins here around Canada. It's been a track with a lot of PSGL history, a lot of great league racing history as well. Byron, are you a fan of Canada if you've driven it before?
I mean, you can't not be a fan of Canada, but as someone who, uses a bit of a controller, because I can't afford a wheel like many people at PSGL who race. Unfortunately, I don't quite, I'm not quite able to get through that final chicane cleanly most of the time, but nonetheless, doesn't make it any less of a good racing circuit. It's a true racing circuit. You can't get much better than a circuit like Canada, and it's going to be absolutely brilliant tonight. I have no doubts whatsoever.
I do race on wheel, but I still can't get through the final chicane. Now, I say I race on wheel, I haven't raced in months. The last race was the PSGL Commentators' Cup, which was a disaster for the both of us, I think it's safe to say. But
absolutely.
Who won the Commentators' Cup again? I was trying to remember. But it wasn't either of us.
No, it wasn't either of us. I know that for certain.
It wasn't Hyman, it wasn't TDB, who was literally bragging for the entirety of last season that he was going to beat me. I got 5th and he got about 20th, so remind him of that if he's ever on a PSGL stream again. I've good news for you, folks. The blabbing can stop now. We'll be returning to the track after a very short commercial break for the PSGL F2, round number 5 of Season 36 Canadian Grand Prix. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to PSGL F2. It's the Canadian Grand Prix time. It is Dirk who starts on pole position here for Canada. In Canada. It's his first pole position of the season, and the Aston Martin man is looking to continue his strong form from last season from pole. He impressed, taking very good results from very positive qualifying positions. He, of course, took 2 wins last season in Hungary and in Bahrain, one on track in Monte Carlo, but did not necessarily take the win after the steward's verdict. So still waiting for that first win of the season, which he would like to come now. We head to the grid. It's 5 red lights here on Notre Dame Island. And we go racing here in Canada. That is a brilliant start for Jamie, who's looking to get up and alongside Dirk, already in towards the first corner. It is Sauber, side by side with Aston Martin. Jamie is looking to take the race lead on the hard tyres. He's got it. Through goes Jamie, and he is up and ahead of TF10 Dirk. There is Francesco Lago and your championship leader, Fede, round in the back.
Yeah, not been a great start for Fede there, down in 16th. Glad he wasn't my pick for the race win, and well, Dirk obviously not having the best of starts either. Jamie getting the jump on him, but not looking too bad on this particular occasion. But, well, there's a lot of laps to go in this one, 35 to be exact, as well, we get through this first lap of action around the Montreal circuit. Fede already catching up to the back of M/slash there, not too badly, because obviously the field is quite converged. You know, you do lose a bit of time, and well, the squabbling continued there as we head down into the hairpin Lapingle there, and well, Will Murdoch has gained a couple of places on the opening lap. Damiano losing a few as well, so not the best of starts for some, but for Jamie, it has been a perfect start to the race, up 1 place. He's leading the race. You can't ask for much more than that for the Alfa Romeo Sauber.
Yep, we have 3 drivers starting on the mediums. That is Thomas Covers, Will Murdoch, and Diogo Silva, all making spaces on that opening lap. We saw Damiano get past CPI Devon as well. Seems like Devon might just be struggling and maybe has catered that Alpine more towards the rain that we are expecting pretty soon here in Montreal. It's not a nice day to be having a picnic, that's for absolute certainty. The 2 Alpha Tauris currently running 3rd and 4th. They're looking to put pressure on the pole sitter Dirk, but Jamie is absolutely running away with this one at the front. He is looking so confident already, 0.8 of a second to the better.
Yeah, he's not looking bad in this one at all. Could be a bit of a setup strategy, a setup choice there between Jamie and Dirk, possibly coming into this one. You know, Dirk might have, loaded that rear wing up just a little bit more, knowing that that wet weather is coming. You want a bit more of a planted rear end when it comes to that kind of adverse and different weather conditions. And I actually think I might try and have a little look and see if that is the case, if there's a difference in their straight line speed down the straight. But Dirk not doing too bad to keep close. And now as the DRS gets enabled, he's just got to stay within a second. That's all he's got to do. He knows that he'll be in a good place if he manages to do that. But nonetheless, Jamie still out in front with that fastest lap time. So not looking too shabby in this in this race at all, I should say. But Thomas Covers now trying to apply the pressure to Dirk behind, just 2 tenths separating the pair.
Yes, great start for the AlphaTauris with the split strategy. That's something we need to keep an eye on, as well as it looks like the rain could be coming down pretty soon. It's getting pretty overcast here in Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, and yeah, I wouldn't think that the rain is too far away. Will Murdoch took right behind Rayan as well. He might go for a lunge, maybe into the hairpin, maybe into the final chicane, but certainly he's got quicker pace. And then the Haas in front. I'm surprised no one gambled it on a set of the soft compound tyres if we are expecting rain pretty soon. I thought maybe someone might have gone for the quickest compound available, blitz through the race start, and then pull into the pits at the first point for a set of the intermediates, but the risk is with that is you don't know if it's going to actually be the intermediates. Here comes the top 3. Thomas Covers trying round the outside of TF10 Dirk, and Dirk is going to go for Jamie. Is Thomas Covers going to go for the both of them here? This is over, really. This is really, really opportunistic from all these guys. The 3 abreast. Michelle might go for this one as well in towards turn number 1. The 2 AlphaTauris are side by side. They were 3rd and 4th. They're now 2nd and 3rd. The Sauber, a CPI Jamie as well, looking to try capitalise on this move. He's down to 3rd position. Could have been way more of that. Got very, very close. A bit too close for comfort. Maybe for the final corner. But Dirk retakes the lead of the Canadian Grand Prix.
Absolutely beautiful stuff there from the Aston Martin. I am unfortunately going to have to slightly dampen your spirits. In fact, I was actually going to have to dampen them even more, to be honest. But then my telemetry updated and told me something completely different. Light rain expected in about 15 minutes' time. So, looking at about lap 17 for some rain in this race. I did think it was going to come sooner. In fact, my telemetry just a couple of moments ago was telling me 27 minutes until the rain, so I'm glad that's updated, because we barely get any rain at all. As some of these drivers, especially those on the mediums, they're going to be praying it comes sooner, as Thomas Covers there gets ahead of Dirk. Dirk nearly goes into the rear end as we go down through and down, into the start of lap number 5 as we go down into turn number 1. Thomas Covers leads the way as things stand, ahead of Dirk, who's obviously lost that place in that last, into that last couple of corners there. The Wall of Champions turn 14 there, getting that move done and dusted. But Dirk's already got a warning in this race, so that's not what you're going to want on lap number 5 of 35. But nonetheless, the action continuing down the order, and not too many green sectors, so they're just trying to bed themselves into this race now that we're a few laps in. But Thomas Covers, he's trying to blitz it out in front and get over a second ahead. He's gone fastest in Sector 1, and no doubt he's going to go fastest in Sector 2 as he tries to gap that Aston Martin behind.
Oh, a bit of a lock-up for the front too. Bit of a mistake from Covers, and then an even bigger one from TF10 Dirk. This could be Jamie's avenue of opportunity. Was in the lead of this race at one point, got ahead of Dirk in the race start. He's looking to get back past pretty much ASAP. 5 laps to the 35 almost completed. No rain has been spotted just yet. No umbrellas up in the grandstands for the time being, but it can't be too far away. Covers has got 1 win under his belt in this F2 Championship, winning the Austrian Grand Prix last week. If you could do 2 on the double, it would be the definition of the old adage. You can never get 1 bus to come, but 2 will come when you're waiting on 1. And Thomas Covers, I don't think he would be complaining too much if he was able to take 2 wins. That would boost him up in the championship well nice, because the first and second drivers are currently 16th and 9th respectively. Despite us saying Ferraris are sort of a no-brainer to tip for a good result, well, maybe it was a brainer or whatever the opposite is, because they're not having a great race. 9th and 16th for the leaders in the constructors' standings.
Yeah, not looking too bad. Well, actually, it is looking very bad for the Ferraris, sorry. But, yeah, it's a gutting time if you are a Ferrari fan, especially in this race. But nonetheless, it's still not going to help, it's still not a bad result for them, even if they get a couple of points, because they know they've got such an advantage. But Fede, that spin early on in this race has really hurt his chances of getting a good result out of this one. But, Dirk's still managing to keep with this train, but those around the likes of the Dirk and that kind of top few, they're going to see it as an opportunity to get some points over the Ferrari, and they'd be desperately wanting an opportunity all season long. You thought it was going to come last time out, but they still got a very good result there. But now, this is a really good opportunity. Danielle down there in 9th and Fede 16th. Not a great race for Ferrari. A good opportunity for everyone else.
Yeah, it's currently only one team sharing 2 cars in the top 5. That is AlphaTauri of Thomas Covers and CPI Michelle. Of course, Michelle not the main AlphaTauri driver. It is the German of CPI, of TF10 Skyline, I should say, who is usually in that seat, but not here this evening is Skyline. I thought the rain would have been here by now, but it's actually starting to brighten up a little bit, so maybe that 20-minute marker was a correct indication on the telemetry, Byron, because it seems like it's getting just a tad bit brighter for now. But a lot of uncertainty still in this race so far. You cannot really call it just yet. There's going to be a lot of strategy at play, whether that's in terms of a crossover period, whether that's in terms of medium or hard tyres. And you can see red light already flashing on Thomas Covers. He's given it everything to try and break the DRS of TF10 Dirk, but unsuccessful for the time being. Dirk's done a good job.
Yeah, Dirk is doing a very good job in this race, and well, the telemetry is saying 11 minutes for the rain, so that is when we're going to see a bit of that action that we're going to want to see in this race. A lot of the drivers, well, were complaining about the lack of rain in the Discord server, saying that it's going to take too long to get some good racing in this race. They're all trying to set themselves up for that rain, all seeing that as a bit of an opportunity, and well, it's just updated to say 10 minutes. So we're looking at about lap 17, lap 18 or so until we're going to be getting some of that wet weather action. The sky may have cleared up, but it's going to get gloomy very quickly. Light rain beginning in about 10 minutes time. And well, for some, that rain cannot come soon enough, because I think Thomas Covers, who's obviously out in front as things stand, might see this as a bit of an opportunity to try and cement his lead, because it's much, much more difficult to overtake in adverse and wet conditions, and nonetheless, that could help him cement a good result here. But Dirk is still in the hunt for now.
Yeah, thought Danielle could have been a sitting duck for Gilles Johan there. Johan got a great exit out of the turn 10 hairpin, but no, it wasn't to be. Danielle burned the battery, stayed ahead for the time being. Danielle currently in 9th, the only Ferrari point scorer, as we have said. Johan trying to keep Mercedes' 2 point scorers well cemented here in this championship. Thomas seems to be a lot quicker in maybe the first and second sectors, but Dirk always does seem to claw back in the third. Thomas has not been able to pull out of that DRS gap just yet, but he is managing his ERS better now. He's not burning as much of it, so that won't be as costly to him come the end of the race. But remember, in the wet conditions, you're not going to be using your battery as much. You're more focused on getting the exits out of the corner, getting the good traction. And you will save some naturally, and of course you'll save a bit in the pit lane as well. We've not had a safety car or a crash really since the opening lap. The only man who is off the train, only man outside of a second of anyone, is Francesco Lago, who is 7.5 off the train due to that opening lap incident. Not a great start for the Italian to this race, but I'm sure he can still come into his own if we do have rain or if we do have a safety car. Brilliant camera. Look how close those guys are getting to that final corner wall.
Yeah, getting very close indeed. Looking at the field spread, by the way, 8 seconds from first, well, about 8 seconds, yeah, all the way down from 1st to 16th. That just shows how close everyone is. Dirk has really been getting a bit of a hurry on, as well, as he's now getting closer to the back of Thomas Covers. As you said, he's typically slower in that first and second sector, but this time around, Dirk's slightly quicker in the first sector of the lap, so maybe trying to get a bit of a wriggle on in this race, knowing that rain is coming in around 8 minutes time, according to the telemetry. It seems to be coming a bit sooner and sooner, as it has got a bit more overcast as well, so maybe we could be seeing rain within the next 5 laps or so, if the rain just keeps coming sooner and sooner to, well, when it said it was going to be. But now Dirk needs to try and keep within that DRS range even more, because it's going to really eliminate his chance of overtaking if he gets out of this DRS range, especially at the moment as Diogo Silva there gets ahead of Damiano down the straight there, as Devin tries to do the same and does do the same there as he heads into the Wall of Champions, and that is Damiano down 2 places in the McLaren, and unfortunately it's been a torrid time for them as Michelle there gets ahead of Phil. And well, that battle now going to continue down as we head into turn number 3 around the lap, and that is Phil ahead of Michelle there. And well, AlphaTauri, they're still on for a good result, but not quite as good as they were, because, well, that is one driver down a place in this one, and if Thomas Covers doesn't think too carefully, he could be losing a place here too.
Yeah, those medium tyres will burn up eventually. As will the hards, of course, at some point, but the mediums will go quicker. There is Johan finally dispatching Danielle. I think there might have been a mistake somewhere for Danielle, because those guys have both lost time. Still no sign of the rain just yet, but it can't be too far away here on lap 11 of 35. If you're just joining us, welcome. You've not missed overly too much. You're joining us at a perfect time, because this race is about to get very, very intriguing indeed. I'd like to remind you to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more PSGL content and check out all of our other social medias. Dirk, this is about the closest he's been to the race leader for a handful of laps. Looks like maybe a bit of a swap and a changes. Here comes IRT Phil. Is he looking to attack CPI Jamie and try cement his position on the podium? No, not for now, but it seems like Phil has really good pace.
Yeah, he's definitely just got ahead and dispatched of the other AlphaTauri, and well, now he's trying to get up to the back of Jamie and try to get onto that podium place. And these are critical laps in this race, because these positions, you know, if you get them now, you might have a bit of an advantage once that wet weather does hit, because you've got a few less things to worry about. You haven't got to worry about trying to overtake in the rain, because you've already got that overtake done a few laps before the wet weather appeared onto the race circuit, and it's really not going to be all too long until that rain does hit. It's really beginning to get even more gloomy around the circuit, and well, certainly a few drivers are having a pretty gloomy time of it, as Johan hasn't been able to get back into the DRS there of Will Murdoch, his teammate. So unfortunately for that, gaggle of cars all the way down from Johan there in 9th down to about Tallers there 11th, but obviously Devon not too far behind, and unfortunately they're not quite you know, in the place and region to try and get into those higher points paying positions. But someone who is Dirk here, and well, getting very close up to the back of Thomas Covers as Tallers gets ahead of Johan, who has just seemingly fallen off a little bit of a cliff in the last couple of laps.
Yeah, it seems so. Was trying to get past the Ferrari, but he's just been overtaken by a Ferrari-powered Haas. Johan out of the points. It seems like these three guys might just be struggling a tad on their pace. The front three as well are all slowly getting more close and bunched up. I think that could be due to a slight pace deficit of the race leader, Thomas Covers. Of course, remember, last time out won that Austrian Grand Prix in fantastic fashion, and defending on the last lap to keep the race win. But he is losing time slowly on that set of mediums, and he's going to have to be careful here if he doesn't want to lose this race lead. But honestly, losing the race lead is not the worst thing in the world. You can overtake a Canada if needs must.
You cut out. I thought you'd stop talking. All of a sudden, it catches up, and you've said about 2 sentences, and all of a sudden, I'm trying to process everything you just said. But nonetheless, Dirk, very close, but Jamie is even closer. The back of Dirk here, just 2/10 of a second separating about the top 4, all 2/10 of a second between each other. And I have seen the rain at turn 1.
And I think so is Danielle.
Yeah,
he's just gone around. Ferrari's disaster class here in Montreal continues. Let's ride on board with one of our drivers. Yes, it is raining, it is pouring, and Thomas Covers might just be saved by this downpour, because he was looking like it was a severe pace deficit compared to the drivers behind. But the rain is out. Remember, it won't necessarily be in the pits this lap of the intermediates unless it is an extreme downpour, which could well be. Seems like, Jamie has ran a little bit wide there. He's lost a little bit of time. This is the dramatic moment we are waiting for. The intermediates might just be imminent.
Yeah, they definitely should be. My telemetry is still saying it's not started raining properly, so it still says light rain in 2 minutes, but the rain certainly has hit this circuit. I do wonder if anyone takes the gamble, comes in at the end of this lap. I don't know how the track conditions are feeling. Only the drivers know how this track condition really feels and how they are, you know, feeling in this race, but no one seemingly coming into the pit lane on the end of this lap. I was expecting one of the Ferraris in. They had nothing to lose realistically in this race. What about Francesco Largo, who's obviously down in 17th? He is the first driver to gamble onto a set of presumably intermediate tyres in this race, and actually it doesn't look like it might be half too bad of a strategic call, because that track does actually look quite a bit damper than it did. And, well, no puddles of water just yet, but you can certainly see that there is a bit of a drier line beginning to form around this circuit.
All yellow flags. Tales, the Brazilian, who's usually very good in these wet conditions, has gone round here down to 16. We need to keep an eye on Francesco in the intermediates. He had nothing to lose. This is a fantastic decision maybe from Francesco. Look at this. Dirk trying to get past Covers in towards the chicane. Big lock up from Covers. Covers goes wide. There's got to be a swap of the lead here down the straight, surely. But they can't trip over each other too much if they want to pull into the pit lane. Here comes Dirk. Doesn't want to get held behind the Alpha Tauri, heading into the pit entrance. So he's going to go for the race lead here in towards the final chicane. Dirk leads the Canadian Grand Prix. Is he into the pit lane? He is. Covers, stays out on the mediums. Is this going to be a call that costs him this race win potentially, Byron?
I think it is. I'm looking at as Dirk comes down the pit lane, I'm looking at the rain on the track. That's normally the indication that you get as Danielle. The day for Ferrari gets from bad to worse. A 5-second time penalty for speeding there. Tales out of this race, retiring in the pit lane there. So clearly that's been dampening his spirits, but it's certainly not going to dampen the spirits of Dirk, who has definitely come out at the right time. Because I look there, the spray, it's definitely kicking up. This is a gamble that Thomas Covers has made. It's a gamble that Hazara, Johan, Devin, and M-Slash there have all made. And I do not think it's going to pay dividends, because I'm looking at the time between Thomas Covers and Dirk, and it is shrinking. It is shrinking so quickly here. It was about 15.5 seconds. It's now 14.5 seconds. That is a brilliant gamble there from Dirk in these conditions. Unfortunately, though, for Thomas Covers, it has pretty much ended any chance of a challenge for the race lead. You've got 19 laps to go in this race. And unfortunately for Thomas Covers, he did not pit on the right lap time in the slightest, and it has not gone his way.
He's kept going. He's still out on track, is Thomas Covers. This is bizarre. Obviously, he expects it to dry up. DRS has been disabled. Has he gone too far? Potentially, I don't know. It seems like the inters are quite good. And we'll get a real indication now. It's only 12.7 seconds between Covers and Dirk. The pit lane at Canada is short, but it's not that short. Oh, I think this could be a bit of a blunder maybe from Covers. Obviously, what he's expecting is for it to dry up. Oh, I'm not too sure what the thinking behind this decision is. And look at him sliding out of turn number 7. Oh, I think Covers might have thrown away a potential second PSGL win here.
He absolutely definitely has. This gap time between the pair of Dirk and Thomas Covers, it's falling so quickly now, because these drives, they are just not equipped to handle these, these wetter conditions, the inters and the wets. They have grooves for a reason. They have that extra tread to try and help you in these sort of conditions. That's why slick tires have no grooves, because you use them on a dry track. And unfortunately, if you try and use tires that are made for the dry conditions on a wet track, you're going to have no grip, and that is exactly what Thomas Covers has. He's staying out!
This is
what
obscene.
Is going on?
This is bizarre.
Yeah.
This is one of these moments where you're like, what is going on? He clearly expects this track to dry up a lot quicker than it might. It could be a masterclass all the same. Here comes CPI Jamie looking to take what will be presumably surely the race lead at some point. Braking for turn number 1. That's sketchy under the brakes. And he doesn't go for it for the time being. What is Covers doing here, though? It's now down to 4 seconds. He's losing almost a second a corner at this point. This is bizarre. And I kind of want him to finish on the podium almost at this point, purely so we can ask him in the interview what the hell was he doing.
Well, I mean, this gamble, it's not working for him. My telemetry is saying it's going to stop raining in 27 minutes.
Yeah, you're done, Covers.
It's not even going to... It's not even going to end anytime soon, and that's Thomas Covers off the podium. He's in 4th. He's going to have to pit, reasonably soon, because these conditions are not improving. They're just getting wetter and wetter and wetter, and the track temperature has dropped by a good few degrees too. So unfortunately for Thomas Covers, this gamble has just not been effective in the slightest. And Dirk, he might have been an obvious choice for the possible race win, but he's back up onto the race lead, and, well, just a gamble that was not going to work in the slightest for Thomas Covers. I almost want him to keep going around on these drives, though, because it would be very amusing, but I do not think he can justify it any longer, unfortunately.
What I don't get is why, alright, he tried it the first lap, tried it the second, why he did a third? Clearly it wasn't working. That's a bizarre strategy come from Thomas Covers. It's a major blunder. One of the blunders of the season, potentially, from a strategy perspective. He's now in for the intermediate tyres. Unless he wants to do the rest of the race on the same set of inters and he doesn't feel the other drivers can. But I still don't get it. I really do not get it. Would you not rather be in the same situation as everybody else than trying what can only be described as obscene, as CPI Jamie is now into the slipstream of Dirk. You can see the spray coming off the back of both of these cars. It is raining very heavily here at the Montreal circuit. Honestly, it might be full wets rather than dry soon. I'm really not sure what Covers was thinking. But the only thing is, he is only 2 seconds behind the back of the field here, so he still could get something out of this race, potentially. I think it could be a masterclass if he could. Look at them all bunched up in the hairpin. Michel has almost gone round. He's now hit the Mercedes of Will Murdoch. It is getting very, very wet here in Montreal.
Yeah, it's very wet, it's very feisty. There's a lot of action on this race circuit there as Jamie was looking to possibly try and get ahead of Dirk there as we head down towards the end of this lap. That is the Wall of Champions, and wow, nearly, Dirk going into it because they're trying to run side by side through some of these corners that you just don't expect it, but these wet conditions throwing up a few surprises. Damiano getting a penalty there. That's not a surprise, unfortunately. 3 warnings. That is it. You get a penalty and it is all over for you, but unfortunately a penalty going the way of Damiano in this race. But Ferrari, their disaster class has continued because Daniel got a 3-second time penalty a couple of laps ago, and unfortunately that's 8 seconds of penalties for TRT Daniel. They're down in 14th place in this race, but well, Fede is a bit closer to the points, but still not exactly in, well, too much contention at the current stage. But someone who is in contention is Jamie, 2 tenths back off Dirk here, and just putting in some great lap times right now. Thomas Covers, I do wonder if what you said was true. Maybe these guys have to pit again, but I don't think it's really, justifiable. The pace difference between those few laps, it's not going to be too much. I think Thomas Covers has maybe shot himself in the foot a little bit, but nonetheless, still on for a great race here with Jamie battling Dirk there as we head down into turn 14 once again.
I mean, Thomas is only 20 odd seconds off the race lead here. For these guys all do have to pit again and he doesn't. He's in a really good situation, but it's still bizarre to me. Jamie is he hasn't gone for the race lead here. I think Jamie just needs to be a little bit braver. He's clearly got the pace on Dirk. He just needs to be a little bit braver, try catch Dirk napping. And he will take the race lead here, and he might be able to lead it for quite some time, potentially to the end of the race, because he is quick. He's very quick in these wet tyres, and he's doing a very good job to hound the Aston Martin in front to keep the pressure on. He's just got to be a little bit more braver and try and get the job done. But for now, it's lap 21 of 35 over the halfway point of this race. It is Dirk, Jamie, Phil, Michel, Will Murdoch, your top 5. Look at Will Murdoch creeping up the order here. The Mercedes team are looking for a good result.
They absolutely are, but I mean, Aston Martin, with Dirk, could be trying to look for a great result too, as Jamie there tries to run side by side
he's been tapped
into the hairpin. He's got tapped there by Will. Well, I believe that was Michel RB, but
no,
Phil losing place. It was Phil. And he's lost a few places to suit. He's down to 6th there. So, that one little mistake, that one little tap there, going into Lepingle there, unfortunately, really not working in Phil's favour. But Jamie was looking to challenge Dirk, and unfortunately wasn't quite able to because of that little love tap there from Phil behind, as things were, minus a few places if you're IRT Phil. But unfortunately for him, he's already got a penalty in this race. 4 warnings, unfortunately, to his name, so not looking too great for the Red Bull, but Jamie still looking to try and mount the pressure. But whether they've got damage or not, that could be a deciding factor as well, because if Phil or someone around there got damage from that incident,
oh no,
really
that's a horrendous overtake attempt. He slid it in towards turn number 6, and the car just could not stop. He broke way too late here. The wet weather stopping distance a lot longer than that on the slicks. and he's now fallen behind Will Murdoch. It was Phil who hit the back of the Alpha, or the Sauber, I should say, apologies, and then went across the grass, and that's how he picked up that penalty. He kind of went into a bit of a half spin after hitting the Sauber. As you can see there, he's just braking very late for the hairpin. It's clearly some sort of a tactic from Phil, because he's done it the last couple of laps, but he was just a bit too close to the Sauber and did hit Jamie on that lap. Lap 22 of 35, it seems like Jamie is just comfortable sitting behind for the time being. There goes Phil back past Will Murdoch, so clearly he has the pace, just needs to limit the mistakes, and there's a mistake from Will Murdoch himself. 3-second time penalty, that'll drop him down the order a little bit. Azara's run wide, that's now Rayan back past after his little bit of a moment on that last lap. It's all swapping and changing. Is the Norwegian going to go for this down the inside? No, he doesn't. Sits behind for the time being. He's almost bumping the Haas through the corner. Johan is trying to capitalise on this battle as well. Maybe potentially down towards the right-hander. But a very difficult overtaking spot in the dry, let alone in these wet conditions, as it is Rayan who leads this battle ahead of Hazara, but it doesn't look like it's going to be too far off. A Hazara move! Here he goes down the inside. The Norwegian, just as we said, was going to try the move. Now squeezing the Haas. They're both bumping and banging and almost into the wall. Somehow Hazara avoids the arm coat to the left-hand side. Rayan's out of control! Rayan's out of control! So is Johan. They was aquaplaning along the straight. They both end up spinning into the wall. Rayan and Johan might have their chance of points taken from them.
Absolutely, they have indeed. Rayan getting front wing damage in all of that. Unfortunately, Rayan just really couldn't get a control of the car, and going down into the Pingle there, unfortunately losing control of the car even more. The chance of points for those drivers. I'm wondering if we're borderline wet conditions here, because the pace of these drivers is really difficult. But with 11 minutes until the rain is set to stop, you're looking at not really being able to justify pitting again in this race for a set of wet tyres. But Rayan out of this race, retiring there. So unfortunately for them, it not been a great race, especially if you're in the Haas camp, because both drivers retiring. But, well, it is it's good news for Fede, because up a place into the points at long last.
Thomas Covers is only 3 places off points as well, I should say, so he might still get something from this race due to the pace of the other drivers and the battling across the field. But still, it's Dirk who leads from Jamie, who leads from Michelle, who leads from Will Murdoch, and it's a very intriguing battle, this one, because Will Murdoch, 3-second penalty, Phil 3-second penalty, Devon no penalty, Hazara has a penalty as well, so Devon could be a big beneficiary of those time penalties. Maybe he could introduce himself in towards the top 3. Remember last time we raced here in PSGL, Devon did manage to take an 8th place on that day, as it was Fede who managed to take 6th place. We'll be hoping for 6th place really here this evening. Dirk still leads. Jamie and Dirk just seem very comfortable given the conditions. They are both almost holding off, it seems, just ensuring that no mistakes are made. Doing a good job of it. They've been 1 and 2 for quite some time.
Yeah, they have. Jamie, he's got the better pace, though. It really seems that he's had some great pace in this race. In fact, I'm actually going to have a proper little look at it to properly understand what is going on in this one, because it's really interesting to see the difference between these two drivers. They've really not been putting too much pressure, on others around them, and it's been a bit interesting to see, how Jamie, he's got better pace, but hasn't really been fighting quite as much as you would possibly expect. But nonetheless, Jamie, still looking good in this race, on track for a solid result, absolutely no doubt about it, but just not probably being able to quite get the ideal result as things stand, because just the pace is there for Jamie. He's just not really using it.
Yeah, the pace is there, but he is just sitting behind, which I'm not sure if it's a genius strategy or a terrible one. Well, we'll find out in about 10 or so laps' time, because we are heading on to lap 26 of 35. Still undecided for who's going to win this Canadian Grand Prix. If you're enjoying the action, there's more of it coming up at 8 PM for PSGL F1. That was 10 minutes ago. I've just checked the time. There is more of it coming up after we've concluded our action here, and make sure you get more of it throughout your week by subscribing to the YouTube channel. ML Slash has been overtaken and dispatched by Thomas Covers. He's now up to 12th position. His next target is Gilles Johan, who we saw have a bit of a pace drop off, and then of course we saw have that incident with Rayan that saw Rayan retire from the race, or at least pull into the pit lane to retire as a bit of a wobble from Jamie. He gets back on the battery to keep within 4/10 of Dirk. He's probably going to be a little bit sick of that Aramco sponsorship on the rear wing of that Aston Martin come the end of this race.
Oh, absolutely, no doubt about it. Unfortunately for him, he's just not really been in the best sort of place. You know, he's not quite been able to execute, I think, what he's wanted to in this race. But, you know, he's really been trying to mount the pressure on it. It's just not been, you know, able to deliver it, unfortunately. And that's the one thing I think he needs to be trying and doing, because he's able to get that overtake done. It could be all over for Dirk in this race, because the pace is just there. It's so difficult to see, you know, why he's not been able to overtake. In fact, I'm actually just having a look at the temperature times. A couple of temps faster pretty much every time around, but just not quite able to make up that place. So Jamie, you know, really, you know, needs to try and get this overtake done, but with Michelle in behind, and Phil, Will Murdoch and Devon, you know, not too far off the pace, it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, Phil still ahead of Will Murdoch now for the time being. 3/10 separates those guys down the back of the order. It is Dirk, Jamie, Michelle, Phil, Will Murdoch, Devon, Hazara, Diogo Silva, Damiano and Fede. The top 10 here. We're just waiting for something to happen at this point. We're waiting for Jamie to attack Dirk. We're waiting for maybe Will Murdoch to get past Phil. Maybe we're waiting for even Thomas Covers to do a bit more of a charge through the field. He is catching Johan slowly. I'm not sure if it is wet conditions yet. Seems like it's not ideal for the Inters, but doesn't seem like the extreme wet tyre is needed. I'm not too sure there will be any pit stops from now to the end of the race, unless we get a safety car or something. But it does seem like these tyres are starting to fall off slowly, Byron.
Yeah, they definitely are. The pace isn't quite as there, and you're seeing it with, you know, Thomas Covers. He's slowly gaining in on the back of Johan, but he's not quite got enough pace to, you know, get close enough that I think he's going to be able to make massive inroads on that top 10. He's certainly not going to be as high up as he was when he was P1 in the earlier stages of this race. Unfortunately for him, the chances of a race win 2 in a row, which would be such an amazing feat given how long he waited, it's not to be for Thomas Covers on this particular occasion, unfortunately. But it's now down to the likes of maybe his teammate Michelle there down in third to try and deny Dirk a race win, which would be a massive championship swing when you look at the standings, because, well, Dirk, he would gain 16 points and a lot of points ahead of Fede. It could see possibly, you know, Dirk take the lead of the championship if Fede does not score well in this race. He needs a few more points to try and cement that one for definite, because obviously, well, we haven't seen Greg Smith in this one, so Dirk could be your new championship leader coming out of this one if Fede doesn't get a few more points in the bag. But Jamie still trying to mount that pressure, and a lot more now.
Yeah, it almost looked like he was finally going to try overtake into the chicane, but that was a bit too much to ask for. Yeah, no Dara Smith here this evening, of course. That was one thing to note. That's contact. That is Phil and Michelle, who've both gone round. We didn't quite catch the contact, but we caught the two of them pirouetting back onto the run in towards turn number 2. I think Phil might have tried to move and it went wrong for the AlphaTauri. That promotes Will Murdoch up to third, which will inevitably promote Devon up to third with that penalty. But that now does leave us with a 2-horse race at the front of this grid. Phil and Damiano side by side. Well, not side by side, but a desync there, I think, between the two. The Red Bull now ahead of the McLaren for the time being. It looked like Damiano was stuck inside the Red Bull for a second there, but all good now. We return to the third dimension, as it does seem like, or well, I'd love to see another look at that. Obviously we can't, but it does seem like it was Phil going for an overtake that went wrong. Just in the nature of how they came back onto the circuit, it seemed like they were both spun around due to that.
Yeah, not a great situation to be in, regardless of which driver you're supporting, unfortunately, because it's just Not being the greatest of times there, unfortunately, for either pairing. And it's a gift for Fede, actually. I say it's a gift for Fede. He's just been overtaken by Johan, of all people there, who's had some relatively good pace in this race and now probably wants to get a bit of wriggle on because there's a certain Thomas Covers now in the hunt here as the M/Slash comes into the pit lane. That is, one of the pit stops we weren't possibly expecting in this race because we didn't think we were going to see another pit stop in this race from anyone. But that incident maybe prompting a pit. I've seen there are people on dries.
There are. M/Slash has gone for a set of slicks. Is this another twist in the Canadian tale that might bring a surprise? Oh,
Ooh.
DRS has been enabled. This could be intriguing. We've seen tire wars in intermediates versus slicks behind in the past. I cast your eyes back to Imola a couple of seasons ago, where Max van der Geest won on a set of the inters in he won a set of the inters in the dry conditions, so it would be the exact same scenario as this one. Thomas Covers overtakes Fede, so that could be a crucial move in the championship. Not for points, of course, but could be a crucial move, as the top two will have a they have made a big decision. I was going to say a big decision to make. Dirk's already made it. He's into the pit lane for a set of the slick compounded tyres. It's going to be a set of softs from here on to the end. This is the dry spell that we were maybe expecting. We saw the rain get much worse than it has been right now. Jamie surely is going to stay out here and try gamble this one home on the inters.
I think it's too early for a set of dry compound tyres, unfortunately, in this race. I'm looking at the times from M/Slash, who was obviously the lead driver on a set of slick compound tyres. He was not, and still is not, really making any inroads on the top few. Obviously, it was Dirk, and then changed to Jamie when he took the race lead as Dirk came
Dirk's
into the
quick here. Dirk's already gained 3/10 on Thomas Covers. Yeah. The slicks are quick.
Slicks are quick. It was a gamble, though.
Huge gamble. Massive gamble for Dirk, especially considering he seemed comfortable at the lead of this race. But this track is drying. It is drying. I wonder, is Jamie going to pit at this lap, or is he going to just try see this one out? Lap 31 of 35. There's not long to go in this race. And there's going to be someone who gambles this. And you got to make sure that you cut through the field. Jamie's in. He's going for the slicks. Obviously feels the slicks are the better tyre. Is Will Murdoch going to carry on? Yep, you betcha. Will Murdoch is going to carry on and try to win this race. That's the kind of driver Will Murdoch is. You expect him to take these gambles. He will go out of the ordinary to try and produce fantastic results. CPI Michelle carries on as well, as does Johan. So Mercedes are going for broke. There goes Dirk. He's well ahead of Jamie. The soft tyres are way, way quicker. The slicks was the call. Jamie might even lose second position to his fellow CPI teammate Devon. No, he won't. Jamie will still be in fifth, but it is second of the slick tyre runners. It does seem like Dirk is catching the intermediate tyre runners at a rate of knots here. This could be a matter of time for Dirk. We saw him try an audacious strategy in Monaco to try win the race. He did win it on track, but of course did receive a post-race penalty. This is dramatic, though. This is to liven up this race needed.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely changed things, and I'm definitely looking forward to the end of this race now. Dirk, he has made so many inroads on Johan there in third. Mercedes, they've either had a strategic masterclass or a disaster class, but look at Fede, look at where he is in this race as well now. Could be a good opportunity for him to really gain a few points places because he's on a set of soft compound tyres. Of those three ahead, Johan, Michelle XP, and Will Murdoch lose a lot of time or come into the pit lane. That's going to gain Fede.
The only thing here is, sorry to jump in there, Bar, but I think this could be a very interesting point. Does Johan get the old shoulders out, get the elbows out, and try keep Dirk behind here and stop him from winning this race? It doesn't seem like he's going to even have enough grip to do so. Here goes Dirk. Oh, wow, he's just driven around the outside of the Mercedes. Not a chance Johan could even try to help his teammate or even stick with the man on the soft tyres. I think Dirk might have this one in the bag because that's the race leader there in front of him. Remember, Will has that penalty. And I think Dirk might have absolutely pulled a masterclass here in this one. He took the gamble, an outrageous gamble as we said, but it's looking like it's going to be one that's going to pay off.
Absolutely. I did call it. It was a bit too early, and I thought it was going to be, looking at the pace there of M-Slash, who just didn't really seem to make any inroads, but now up to second there. Dirk going into Lepingle there, and really a good gamble done for Dirk. You know, he's got 2 warnings in this race, though, so he has to be careful, especially with Jamie in, you know, 4th place, you know, only about 2 seconds adrift, so a 3-second time penalty could gift the race win in his, in CPI Jamie's favour, as Francesco Largo there gets another penalty. It's been a woeful day there for Francesco Largo, and Phil there getting a penalty there, so maybe making Red Bull's day just a bit worse. Thomas Covers, another penalty for him in this one, as Phil sets a new fastest lap of this race, so not a bad lap time there from Phil, even though he did get another penalty in this one, as TF10 Dirk takes the race lead once again, now ahead of Will Murdoch. You said you could bet your bottom dollar that they would take a gamble. Well, unfortunately for them, that gamble has not worked.
Yes, Red Bull into the pit lane now. I think that that is Francesco Largo retiring from the race. Apologies. There goes CPI Jamie. Might still have a fight for the race win here. If there was a mistake from Dirk, Jamie might have been within. I think one lap too short, maybe potentially, for Jamie to catch back up. I think if Jamie had stayed out, he would have had a good chance of winning this race. But look, hindsight is a wonderful thing. Fede picks up a 3-second time penalty. That would bump him out of the points almost at this point. Thomas Covers might be paid off for his outrageous gamble in the earlier stages of this race. But Dirk starts us onto our last lap. 1.6 the gap. It's looking like Dirk's going to take this one home for a first win of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, my prediction for the race win, looking like it's going to come true for, I believe, the 2nd time in this season. And, certainly earlier on in this race, I wouldn't have fully called it. But, you know, been a great race for him. Nonetheless, you can't count that out as a poor race for him. But Jamie, you know, very much closed here, and it definitely is going to be either 1 lap too short, or possibly, if he's able to get within DRS ranges, actually the rear end gets a little bit loose there on the exit of turn number 9. And now as we head down into Lepingle for one final time here in this race, Jamie is on a blinder of a fastest lap attempt here, but he's not got DRS, he's not got the battery, he's not got the pace to dethrone the Aston Martin. He may have started first, but he didn't stay there for long. He may have began in that place, but he's not where, you know, he would have expected to be at points in this race. But he has prevailed through rain, through dry, through varying conditions. TF10 Dirk takes the race win here in Montreal. Jamie in second there, followed by his CPI teammate in Devon. Diego Silva there gets up to 4th ahead of Hazara, who takes a 3-second drop there through his time penalties. Fede, though, massive gainer here, up to 6th place there through having less penalties than those around him. So there, definitely, maybe just done enough to keep the championship leading this circuit. Sorry, but what a race there for the Aston Martin of TF10 Dirk. A stunning and phenomenal victory in Montreal.
Yeah, fantastic win for TF10 Dirk in the Aston Martin. We usually do hear from Dirk after the races as well, so it'll be good to do that. But Dirk, first race win of the season. He's now one shy of his last season total for Aston Martin. Aston Martin, of course, took 7 wins last season, so still a little bit off that, but we'll leave him away with it. But Dirk is your race winner for today. Took the gamble and managed to take it home.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a gamble that he took, well, kind of twice in this race. He took the gamble when it went to inters, he took the gamble when it went back to dries, and he got both pinpoint perfect. But your race classification provisionally, there's a lot of penalties in this race as things stand, and there's probably going to be a few more added onto it come the end of proceedings. But TF10 Dirk is your race winner ahead of CPI Jamie, then Devin there in third. CPI, not a bad result, leaving this one at all 3-point scorers for them, but Diego Silva there in 4th, Hazara in 5th. Fede starts where, well, finishes where he started there in 6th. Fede, though, no, not Fede, sorry, Phil losing a few places in this one, unfortunately. They're down in 7th place. Damiano in 8th there. Michelle XB, also a CPI driver there, down in 9th. And Will Murdoch in 10th. So the gamble, it didn't pay too badly for Will Murdoch, who does still get points. Thomas Covers there in 11th. Johan in 12th. Then Emlash, Danielle, and, well, your 3 retirements, Francisco Lage, Rayan, and Tales. But what a race of action that was in Montreal. We'll be back in a couple of minutes' time as we'll get some driver interviews and analysis on that race. But what a race it was.
Yeah, it was a cracking race, and we've got more coming up next week, of course, as we do have the French Grand Prix at Paul Ricard. We go from a French-speaking nation of Canada to France itself, and I imagine there will be some drivers looking to, or well, Johan specifically, looking to do well at his home Grand Prix. Canada, the walls are close. France, they're kind of the opposite, Byron.
Yeah, there's no walls anywhere near that sort of circuit, so nonetheless, it's going to be definitely a bit more different to this one. You know, you haven't got a wall of champions to contend with in the slightest because, well, I'm not sure where you think that wall is, but it's nowhere near the racing circuit, so, you know, likely to be a lot less retirements, but it's much easier to extend, so you're likely to see quite a few more penalties.
Yes, certainly. We will be hearing from Dirk in our post-race interview. He hasn't joined us just yet, but hopefully he'll be joining us in 30 seconds, he said. Byron, if you had to pick maybe a driver of the day for today, who would you go for?
It has to be Dirk. To get the gamble right twice. You know, he might have started on pole position, but if anything, that was the most risky place to be. He had the biggest gamble to make because if he didn't come in soon enough, he loses a lot of places, a lot of time, especially when the grid was as close as it was. Unfortunately, you know, for others around him, didn't quite get that same rub of the green, but brilliantly executed strategy from Dirk to make that call at the right time. Twice in the race as well. That's definitely earned my plaudits. And after all, he was my prediction for the race win. So nonetheless, I've got to give it to Dirk.
Yes, a great performance from Dirk, well and truly. Let's hear from the man himself. Hello, Dirk. Can you hear me? Hello, Dirk.
Hi.
Congratulations. Fantastic result from you today. You took a big gamble come the end of the race, going for the slicks earlier than Jamie, but it paid off. Are you happy with how Canada went?
Yeah, especially because I think this season, this was the track I've practiced the least for. I only started today, really, and just instantly the pace was really there, especially like only in quali, to be honest. In the race, I had no pace, but just held on, defended the whole interstint. Because I honestly think that if Jamie passed me on one of the first interlaps, he would have gapped like 10 seconds or something. Because I really had a bad pace in the race.
Last week was your first race not scoring points. You lost a big gap in the championship, maybe. It's quite nice to back it up with a win, isn't it? Would you consider yourself back in the fight well and truly now?
Yeah, I think I'm not far behind now. Probably P2, I think, in the championship, behind Peda with like 5 points, I think. Just the next 3 tracks will be very, very hard for me with Baku, Portimao, Paul Ricard. I haven't done any of these 3 this whole game, so I got no clue how my pace will be there. Baku is pure, yeah. I don't want to say something bad on stream, but it's not good, Baku. And the other 2 tracks I liked on other games, on old games, but just no clue how the pace will be this game.
Byron, any questions for the race winner?
I mean, there's not many questions to ask, but I think probably one of the main ones to think about was when you saw those drivers around you staying, you know, out, you know, on those intermediate tyres, did you think that they were ever going to have an advantage and maybe actually hold on to the end, or did you know that the moment you came in and felt the pace that you were going to storm through and take that race win?
I thought there would be 5 more laps when I boxed, and the pit lane at Canada is really short, so it would only be like 3 seconds a lap, which I was 99% sure I would catch them. It was more about, did I choose the right pit lap, or if people go 1 lap longer, do they maybe overcut me like what Jamie did? Because when I came out of the pits, I had pretty bad grip, so I wasn't sure where I would come out. But then when Jamie boxed, I was looking next to me where he was, but he was still 2.5 seconds behind, so didn't expect that really.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, a great race win. Congratulations, Dirk. You were my prediction for the race win, so thank you for delivering. I've got 2 right this season, and last season the Evans co-commentator got none, so I'm already doing not too badly. So thank you very much.
Yeah, Dirk, thank you very much for joining us. Greatly appreciate it, and we hope to see you back next week.
Yeah, I wouldn't bet on me winning next week then.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you very much, Dirk. Next week, of course, we do head to Paul Ricard, as Dirk and myself and Byron have said in the last couple of moments, so you don't want to miss it. We're going to let you go and enjoy some PSGL F1 action now around the Canadian Grand Prix circuit here in Montreal. It was a great week in F2. Once again, we look forward to having you back. We'll leave you with one final word from our various sponsors. Stay safe, stay well, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
He's got the inside off here, he's through on the left-hand side. Hooks the apex, gets on the power nicely, and that is job done. Jarno Opmeer now to the last couple of corners now. His finest drive, his greatest drive, and he's done it at the Circuit of the Americas. He returns to the top step of the podium. Once again, the GOAT is back. Jarno Opmeer wins the US Grand Prix in a stunning Grand Prix.